So, thank you for joining me today, Michelle. I've been really looking forward to having like a one-on-one conversation with you, and I think that there's immense power in sharing these conversations and like having them publicly so people can just benefit from seeing other people having conversations because we don't talk enough in our society, like really talk. So, if you would introduce yourself, like, because some of my people might not know you, some of your people might not know me. So, who are you and what do you do?
Well, my name is Michele Lewis. I live in Utah. I am a soul shine specialist and home healer. And so I describing a soul shine specialist is still kind of a challenge for me, but basically I just want to do whatever it takes to help people live in full soul expression, that they bring out their true identity, live according to whatever their truth is, and just really be themselves. And then with home healing, I'm looking into becoming a clutter coach, and I do energy work on people's homes and help clear up the energy with themselves and with their homes so that they can get their homes in order and have a wonderful, supportive environment.
That is so fascinating, Michelle, because I do so many of the same things. And today we're talking about natural number nine a little bit because we're both natural number nines. So, wow, we have some intense overlap. Uh, I'm Safrianna Lughna, the queer spirit guide, and I also want to help people step into their authenticity, whatever that looks like. And I have a brand called Living Luna, which is uplifting the others of the world. And we really try to promote loving without shame and normalizing people's authenticity. That's what we're all about. So natural number nines, very naturally hold inclusion and
Mm-hmm.
inclusivity. So I hear that as you're describing what you do, like you're trying to create and help people co-create an energy with themselves and their spaces so that they can step more into their authenticity and light.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I
What
like the way you worded that. I'm gonna come back and watch this again and take notes.
I know, I feel like it's so hard as a nine to like know what words to use because we're constantly kind of second guessing the words to use because we've been so misunderstood so many
Mhm,
times. And yet we do find our best like way to describe ourselves in relationship with one another, I feel like.
mhm. Yeah, I always am using my daughter as a sounding board because that vocal communication with her and the feedback directly in that it's like the energy of the moment of talking with somebody
Yeah.
versus just writing it out, and then you have to wait for the feedback, and you may not be in the same space anymore. So there's something about the energy of that very particular moment.
Yeah, being live and present in a moment. That's so I offer I have a membership community where I offer moon rituals and then manifest your month calls. And it really is like why would anyone want to be part of that? Well, it's because very rarely in our lives do we have these moments where we're supremely aware of being present.
Mhm.
Like there's an intention to be present and we're present in the moment, feeling the energy of the moment, seeing what's possible in that moment, and then like taking that information and kind of gathering it up and integrating it into ourselves. And
Mhm.
that's what I hold in my spaces. um, and I have a very hard time trying to describe how that's of value to people, but it is.
I really appreciated doing the one at the beginning of April. And I remember thinking, oh, look, our appointment is so far away. And now here we are.
And now here we are.
Like, April's almost over.
I know. I remember being in the manifest your month call and I was like plotting out my whole month, and you were like, "Oh, we have our call coming up." And I'm like, "I got so much going on. I'm not even close to that week in the schedule book." But yeah, time flies. And I think that nines perhaps are more intimately aware than any other natural type that time is kind of an illusion. I feel like a lot of fours get that too.
Mhm.
But we're here and we're subjective to it.
Time is the funniest concept to me because I totally get how it is and is not, and it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And then you have like the timing of things, which is a completely different subject, which really kind of matters, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. And like everything nine, it is and it isn't. And people are like, what?
Yes. And this understanding, I don't, I got really woo last year and I started really embracing my intuitive gifts. And I happened to learn my natural number last year. So, surprise, that had something to do with it. And I was trying to conceptualize time. I don't know if this is like a thing everybody does or just us weirdos. I don't know. But I conceptualize time as this triangle where, like, our perception of the present moment, like what's present, is the top of the triangle, and then you have the past and future kind of going on a timeline down at the bottom. But then in the middle, it's a triforce because I'm a super nerd. And Zelda, in the triforce center, this blank space is actually being present. It is the now, and there is in the now the awareness of how past, present, and future are all right now. And I wish that I could explain that to everyone in a very accessible way. I'm still trying to figure out how. But the fact is that the present, future, and past don't really exist until we're aware of them in the moment. And
Yeah.
then they do.
And I don't, there's so many concepts that are nonlinear and I have no clue how to explain them. And I'm like, in my mind's eye, I see this kind of 3D-ish vision that explains how this is here and this is here and how even though they seem opposite, they're actually connected. And but how to explain that? I have no clue.
Yes. We did have a comment in the side that I want to call attention to that said, "Love me some Nine Beauty, witnessing you both as a gift." Thank you. I don't know who said that because you don't have Restream linked to your Facebook, but feel free to comment again, and so we can say hi to you. Um, yeah, this being a nine and discovering and uncovering my nineness has really been a journey of relearning to love myself.
Mm.
Um, I had a sort of spiritual awakening moment in 20. Oh, it's Amy Brooke. Hi, Amy Brooke. Um,
Oh, hi, Brooke.
I had this sort of spiritual awakening moment as I was leaving. Well, it was literally on the crux of me leaving a very toxic relationship in 2019, and I was with my now wife Ikenna at church for a play, and I went into the bathroom and I made eye contact with myself in the mirror, and in that moment I like fell in love with myself. I was like, oh, I finally see the light in you that I see in everyone else. But it took me many, many more years and learning my natural number, I think, to really get it, like get who I am and what I am and why I came in the design that I did. And that's like such a exciting uncovering. So I know it's been a year for me. How long have you known that you were a nine?
um 7 months.
Yeah. So you're like in the thick of the trying to integrate it phase.
Yeah. And a lot of the, oh, that explains this. And wait, is this a nine thing or is this just a nurture thing? And yeah.
Yeah. I love knowing that we all have the capacity to explore our blueprint and to get into, you talk about like the soul shine, like finding our unique glimmers. And I do think nines are equipped in a way that really allows them to uniquely approach facilitating that for other people. um, how do you how do you honor your like energetic boundaries and make sure that you're not overgiving, or is that something you're still working on?
I think in many ways I'm still working on that one for sure. I know that one of the things I have to do is just make sure I'm not kind of empathing everybody in the moment so that I'm like, because their energy and their like, gimme, gimme, gimme can really overtake me. So I have to be really careful of that. And then I'm just still learning. I'm just check in. Like when I see that this person needs something, is it my, is there something I can do instead of this constant like, oh my gosh, I gotta help them, gotta help them, gotta help them. And so it's really I think more of a matter of just checking in and listening to the intuition and is it really mine to do?
That's such a great question. I have been using that question, what is mine to do, actually for about 3 months now with clients and myself as I'm continuing to kind of get out of the last vestiges of my codependency. And I was actually just having a conversation kind of about this with a client this morning. Like, consent is so important in any two-person relationship. Like work, whatever work looks like, there's usually an established agreement. Like,
Mhm.
this is your role, this is your job, this is what you're going to do or provide. So when you show up to an office place or an appointment with somebody who's scheduled for you, you don't usually have to get into the nitty gritty of like, can I do this? Um, can I do this task or whatever? Right? Because we just know we
Yeah.
have permission to do it. It's a part of the role. But in any two-person relationship, because all relationships are between two people, um, or all outer relationships are between two people, I should say, uh, there has to be the conversation of consent.
Hmm.
How can I help you in this? Or I'd like to help you in this. This is how I can help. Do any of those appeal to you right now? Right. And being able to like check in with somebody, because we can end up hemorrhaging our energy trying to do things for people who might not even want it. And that was a really hard lesson for me as a 9, was like understanding that my feelings of rejection came from me
Hmm.
overstepping my limit and trying to like help someone who didn't invite me to help. It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. I find that Facebook is a place where that's still a big challenge because people post something and then I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, wait, I'm not supposed to just be commenting and giving all of my wise sage advice because they didn't actually ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then with my kids, that's another place where those boundaries are a little bit of a challenge, and we're working on that. And learning Body of Nine, learning their numbers and my numbers has been huge for that one. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I know learning my mom's number has been really instrumental. We're still a little bit on the fence between if she's a 1 or a 5. I am starting to think she's more of a 5 though, because her frameworks. She's very like,
mm,
I'm communicating to you about my framework, and I believe that I need to apply the framework to you because that's how this is. And so I'm really helping her nuance, like, your framework's great for you, mom. It's wonderful for you. It's not how the rest of us are operating, though. So if you're going to share your framework, ask us if we want to hear it first, because you wonder why. You share it and then it kind of falls on deaf ears. And I know that's so hard with parenting too. Like, you want to feel like you yourself are giving your children the best chance that they can to
mhm.
succeed, and you've had your own experiences that have taught you what success or failure looks like.
Yes, most definitely.
I'm still out on the fence if I'm ever going to adopt babies, because
Um,
it's a lot.
you would be such a good mom. I think nines make great parents, honestly.
I'm sure we do. I feel like I would make a good parent. And I also, as a 9, have that very deep awareness of everything that that would entail should I
It's
choose to
true.
take that challenge on.
It's true.
It's a huge responsibility
I
being a
sometimes
mother.
wonder what I did because I have 6 children and I'm like, "Why?" But I know why. It's because I heard their little voices saying, have me, are you gonna have me?" And so I had them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's such a cool. I know we've talked about that before, like your experience with having children and how their names came to you and all of that. And it is such a uniquely nine
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Um, and the fact that you were able to follow those intuitions, follow those inklings, maybe not fully being aware of everything it meant at the time, but also sort of being fully aware of what it meant at the
Yeah.
time.
What I wasn't aware of was that what it would do to my body. That was
Mm,
the thing that I was not aware of.
yeah.
And part of that is because until Body of Nine, well, okay, one of the pieces about Nine that I rejected was this idea that we were both aware of our body and not aware, like the whole thing. I was like, no, I hate my body. I
Yep.
don't want to be in my body. And so I've been learning to appreciate my body and how I experience my body. But that was one of the things that I hadn't planned for. Didn't know I was going to get postpartum depression. Didn't know I was going to have my baby so close together. And I was in my early 30s. So didn't know those things.
Yep. And that is part of like, we need more empowerment around parenting, whether
Mhm.
it is adoption based parenting, foster based parenting, guardianship, or giving birth, and especially giving birth, because there is this layer of the physical component. And
Mhm.
again, kind of going back to what I was saying at the beginning of this talk, like, we just need to have these vulnerable conversations in order to educate people, because it's so disempowering. I was going through literally right before COVID hit, so late 2019. I was in the thick of my baby fever. And so I was going to the library and getting books, and I read a book called Like a Mother. Um, who wrote it? I'm Google searching really quick because I want to be able to. Yeah, it's called Like a Mother: A Feminist Journey Through the Science and Culture of Pregnancy, and it's by Angela Garbs. And like, I learned things that were so both scary and empowering in that book, and both are important. Like, you want to be aware of the fullness of it, and you want to know what's super empowering in it. And like, the fact that when people breastfeed, there's an exchange of information occurring between the parent and child, the mother and the baby. Oh my gosh, like, how cool our bodies are, how
Yeah.
intuitive.
And I
No
wish
one
I would have been
educated me.
more aware of that when I was nursing my babies.
Yeah. And if you had a good education about being human from the
Yeah.
get go.
Well, with my oldest son, nobody even told me, and this was back before the internet was a real thing, because he was born in 92. So nobody told me that you bleed for a month afterwards. Like, I had no clue until they're like sending me home with supplies. And I'm like, what? And
Yep.
just a simple little thing like that, missing information and especially somebody who likes to be prepared.
I very much like to be prepared. Yeah. I have given birth. I unfortunately lost a child, and I know you and I have talked about that before, and I'm pretty open about it. But same thing. Like, even though I didn't have a baby to take home, I still bled for a full month, and I would have really liked to be aware of
Yeah.
what to expect. And that's this lack of communication, this lack of consent culture and communication culture. We don't have the hard conversations because they're taboo. And of course, anything having to do with being a woman is taboo.
Yeah. I'm thinking about my daughter-in-law, and nobody told her about morning sickness, and I didn't know until well after the fact. So she wasn't eating, and so she got really, 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 really sick. And I
Yeah,
wished I would have known, because I had no clue that, because I would have told her, no, the answer to morning sickness is actually eating. Like having crackers or something healthy by your bed so that you eat when you first wake up. And
right.
I'm like so sad. I mean, her second pregnancy, she did much better because she had that awareness. But these simple little things that,
These simple little things that we just
yeah,
need to have more conversations about. I mean, menstrual cycles and puberty and all of that. And, I know there's this like huge divide. I just feel like I need to say this for some reason right now. There's a huge divide happening right now because the trans community is the current boogeyman, right? It's the current community
Mhm.
that has a target on their back. Of course, there's lots of communities that have a target on their back, but this one in particular is the most forward right now. And a lot of the misunderstandings in that also come from miseducation.
Mhm.
And we need to honor and we need to be able to involve every identity of person without wiping any other person out. And
Mhm.
that's what I think a lot of the division languages is this fear mongering that, like, if we acknowledge this group, we're erasing this group.
Yeah.
No, we need to like put a spotlight on all the beautiful groups and
Yeah. I've
acknowledge that we're
seen
part of
that.
this one bigger group.
I remember having those thoughts and conversations back in high school about the whole. Well, I lived on a Navajo Indian reservation, so I was the minority there. So being aware of race minority as both being a white person on, you know, 2% white people on a Navajo Indian reservation, I got an experience that most people don't get. But I always thought, I'm like, let's honor all of the races without, like making the other races bad. Like we're all just human. Let's just all be human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Celebrating our differences doesn't have to be about, like, celebrating our differences can be such an incredible thing. I love meeting people from different cultures, different religions. I know you and I have different, like, probably religious or spiritual views, but like when we can share in it, there's like
Mhm.
this massive expansion that can happen because we're suddenly expanded into a new level of awareness that we didn't have before simply because someone else shared their experience. And
Mhm.
being open to that, I get now that that's like it's a superpower of 9. It's something
Mhm.
that natural number 9 genuinely understands on an energetic level that maybe not everyone else has access to, that there doesn't have to be division, that
Yeah.
everyone can be celebrated, that everyone can be lifted up.
Yep. That's one of the things that I was like, when reading through about 9 and learning about 9, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And that's one of them. That ability to hold different points of view, that ability to just naturally include and not look at the color of the skin or our differing beliefs. I remember my first, and we'll call it a relationship. It was she worked at a school that I went to, and I would sit and talk to her for hours between classes. She was my first trans female person I'd ever interacted with. And a lot of the people around me are like, why are you talking to her? That's just so weird. Like, it's so obviously that she's a man. And I'm like, no, she's transitioned. She's done all this stuff. And she's a person and she has amazing things to teach me. And we had great conversations about everything under the sun. And I loved it. And that's one of the things about being a 9 that I was like, hey, I do that. I do that.
Yes. And holding, again, space for someone else's perception of themselves, understanding it has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
Like when we're able to, I remember, so I like to be very transparent about my own struggles, because we all have struggles. And when we don't
Mhm.
talk about them, no one else knows that maybe they're not alone. Um, I'm obviously like super queer. I've always been like, if I roll back in time, I had a crush on Aladdin and Jasmine in in Aladdin, like very very obviously queer. And when Ikenna, my wife, began their like kind of social transition into a non-binary identity and claiming they them pronouns, I still had to renegotiate my internal landscape with that update because they were updating me. This is who I am now. This is what I'm embodying, embracing. And I had to deal with my own stuff in that. Like I had feelings about that
Mhm.
because even though I'm bisexual, gender does play a role in how I experience attraction. So they
Mhm.
were no longer a woman. They're a non-binary person. And so I had to take them out of this energy category and put them in this energy category and shift, but there was still full acceptance of them in that. There was still,
Mhm.
you're still the person that you've always been. I just have to make an adjustment because I'm still human.
Yeah.
And
I've talked to my daughter about this a lot. I've told her, I said, I struggle with the they pronouns because for 50 years it was a plural.
right.
And so I'm listening to an audio book and there's a non-binary person in a little battle. And it took me, I was almost done with the scene when I realized, oh, it was just one person. And I'm like, so I have issues with that. And I'm like, and I have all this training. This is how it's been my whole life. And
Right.
so it's like, it is taking me time to readjust all of my own thoughts and feelings. And then I see how on a bigger global thing, like it's going to take some time. I mean, we've been dealing with Black rights and women's rights for centuries, and there's still issues.
Yep.
It's going to take time for some of these things to transition and people to just, and I'm like, you don't have to agree with it, just get to an acceptance place that this is how it is.
Right. You do not have to take on anything in your own being or actions that does not serve you. However, it never serves us. It never serves us to spew hate at another person.
Yeah.
It never actually benefits us. It only harms us. It creates more trauma within us. It creates more trauma outside of us, which exacerbates the trauma for everyone. Versus if we're just like, you know what, I'm going to stay in my lane and be me. And that person, I don't know, they give me a weird feeling when I think about spending time with them. So I'm not going to spend time with them.
Mm-hmm.
We can own that. There are plenty of people that, even as inclusive as I am, I have acknowledged I have to keep you outside of my energetic container because I love you and you are a part of this planet and this, this particular timeline. But you don't have to be in my immediate presence. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to pull your energy into my space, into my day-to-day life. And that's still, to me, being inclusive while acknowledging that we have to have a little bit of separation between us because our energy just doesn't jive.
That's true. I don't know about you, but it takes me a while sometimes with some people to get to that point. It's like I know that I really shouldn't be interacting with them. And then I have to talk myself into why I really need to put them into that space.
Yeah, I definitely have that trouble sometimes, like the fear coming in of, well, I mean, I'm going through this transition right now with my therapy practice because I told all my clients I was going to go to the end of 2023. That was a big old fat lie coming out of fear because I couldn't let myself really assess because I was so worried what they were going to think about me by me pulling back. And it's absolutely the same with family members that
Mm-hmm.
I've had to pull back from or friends that I've had to pull back from. I'm like afraid of how they're going to see me for having a boundary, which how indicative of our culture is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, I do have that experience for sure. I think it is coming from a place of fear. I don't know about you. If it's
Oh,
also
definitely. Definitely.
that is not the nine Achilles heel, as it were, for those
Yeah.
of you who are
How
playing
many
along.
how many times in my life have I worked on the fear of rejection?
Yeah, for me, it's not even a fear of rejection. Usually, rejection, I've always been able to handle pretty well. Being a polyamorous person and a queer person, and very much a leader, but also not. I was so anti-athletic. I was never picked because I cried my way out of the gym every time. But that's another story for another day. Ultimately, like I always would struggle with kind of over giving and over identifying in relationships and then being afraid of what they're going to think of me if I change my mind. So
Mm.
if I suddenly realize I have a boundary that I need to draw, and that has like I had that relationship that I left towards the beginning of 2019, every time I would have a little self update and be like, okay, I know in the past I was okay with XYZ. I've really recognized that's not okay for me. It doesn't feel safe in my body. I'd like to renegotiate how we approach this. I would be met in that relationship with who was likely a natural number one, who was not able to align with their shame, this shame about them not mind reading what I needed. And then so I would get blamed for not updating them sooner. I can't update you until I understand it in myself. And I'm not trying to change the goalpost because there's no goal. I'm just trying to update you on who I am now. And people can really, really take offense to that or worry that it has to do with them. And so I fear how they're going to take it and how they're going to respond to me.
Yeah, I get that too. That aspect, there's a lot of aspects. There's this thing where um I've been a certain way for so long, and then I know that when I change it, I change it. It's like it shifts and I'm a completely different person. And I could be a completely different person now than I was this morning just because I became aware of something and shifted the energy and everything like that. But I'm always kind of like, you're not going to recognize that I've changed. You're not going to honor me in my new place. You're going to hold me in the old place. So there's all these different things that also go along with it. And so I kind of get what you're saying with the update. In fact, updating and having somebody else not update with you is part of why I'm not married.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have communication be two-way, back and forth, giving
It
and
was kind of
receiving.
funny. He married another 9, so that's cool.
I know. I have been giggling so much because since we've learned natural numbers and Ikenna and I are practicing partners, and both of our other partners are like up to speed on it. Like they listen to us and they're willing to talk about it. We've started really like looking at old relationships and looking at photos and what the parents might be, and we all have a type.
Yeah.
And when we're not aware of that energetic type and how that is playing out in a cycle, like if I had not learned Ikenna's natural number when I did, and been able to finally start communicating the things that were like my past relationships that did not, in fact, work for me, like if I didn't have that vocabulary, we would have split.
Yeah.
100%, because I would have been like, I can't communicate with you, right? But because we have this shared language now, we can communicate so much more seamlessly. And I know they're going to take it personally immediately. That's one. And so I can mitigate my own initial reaction to just hold the space for them to come back to center.
Yeah.
No need to argue, no need to defend, none of that. Just come back to center, watch the reaction happen, and they'll come down because they're self-aware enough of what that spiral looks like now, because again, they have this information to play with.
Yeah. I have a type. I don't know if I will ever date another 7 just because I'm aware of it. And they may be the greatest person, but I don't know that I'm really wanting to go into a 7 relationship again.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a relationship with a 7, more than likely. Just based on what I know about them, I could see it being a very powerful combination if in alignment, and a wildly dysfunctional combination if out of alignment.
Yes. Yes. He seems to be doing much better with his
Good.
current wife.
That's good.
So, more power to them.
Yes. I mean, and that's how I feel. Like, I think I sort of believe in soul contracts or karmic contracts. I don't know what you believe about this, but um, I really think that sometimes we choose relationships to work through an energy together. And because I've been able to install that belief and integrate that belief, it's really freed me to like look at my one ex in particular, that was, because all of my other exes I'm still good friends with. I've really only ever had this one that got really toxic, and it's just because our traumas went hand in hand, and we just right, it's on both of us. And because I'm able to own that now, I'm genuinely able to close my eyes and imagine this person being happy in their new relationship and feel genuinely good about it. Like, we helped each other. I'm going to choose to believe that we helped each other figure out what not to do
Yeah.
so that we could be out of codependency and have healthy relationships. And that's really, really helped me come into a place where I can not only release that, but also talk about it in a way that hopefully other people can benefit from. instead of me being in my, this was a terrible person and they wronged me, and that doesn't help anybody.
No.
It really doesn't help anybody.
I have a hard time seeing people as terrible people.
Me too.
I see them as wounded people doing terrible things. And I've always seen that. That's part of why it's hard for me sometimes to put truly toxic people out. Because I'm like, I know why they're being toxic. And if they would, if I could help them with this part, and I'm like, it's not my job to help them with that part. They're not ready for that part. And they're not treating me well. So I need to put space.
Yeah. That makes me think I've been brainstorming this little written piece, and I want to read this here because it's literally this. And you can tell me if it resonates for you.
Okay. It
I
probably
said,
will.
may you be blessed with a natural number 9 in your life who sees the fullness of your potential. They may energetically provide their container for you to process when you ask them for their assistance. They can hold this knowing of your fullness and unique beauty with or without ever interacting with you. They do not hold you to their standards, but rather what they know is accessible to you. May you know the love of a 9 who sees the beauty in all you are. They understand exactly how you've been impacted by your trauma, yet they hold you accountable for healing from it. That's magic. May you have the privilege of knowing a natural number 9 in their power, who is a world creator, change maker, and liberator. They walk daily hand in hand with fear, yet they keep on moving. They are powerful. Natural number 9s may be highly misunderstood, but our profound impact on our world would be missed if we stopped stepping up. If not for the bravery of our space keepers, I believe humanity as a collective would be even more scattered and divided. So yeah, that's my little think piece on 9s right there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like everybody needs to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like each of the natural numbers comes with its own gift, and society, and I use society as an umbrella term for the system, right?
Right.
Society has tried to approach things from a one size fits all, rather than celebrating our unique differences and talents. And Body of 9 is ancient wisdom. It's not always been packaged as Body of 9. It's ancient wisdom that helps us access what human body blueprints can look like, that allows us to fine tune and hone our unique gifts. Mm-hmm. Obviously, every 9 is still going to have slightly different gifts, but the overarching gift itself is similar. Mm-hmm. The energy that we bring is similar. So if we could all celebrate how we uniquely bring our energy and get really clear on what we see as our gifts and talents, we could all step into roles that truly serve us, rather than being a part of this societal system that's like, no, you just got to go to school, get a college degree, get a high-paying job, get a white picket fence house, have a spouse, have 2.5 kids and a dog, and like that is the way.
You had 2.5 kids. I've never understood that.
It's just statistics. It's just statistical children. But yeah, like
we'll split the kid. You can have it Monday through Wednesday, and I'll have it Thursday through Saturday, and we'll share every other Sunday.
There you go. Yeah. Like when we all can step into, I'm trying to voice the superpower of 9s and like step into my 9 with confidence, so that other 9s can see, like, we don't have to cower in fear all the time. We're actually badasses. We're super awesome. And we have so much to offer, just like a natural number 3 in their power would, or a natural number 1 in their power would, or 2 or 4 or 5, all of the numbers, right? Like when we step into the celebration of who we are in our uniqueness, everything becomes possible with regards to not being divided anymore. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Oh, the 9 vision is a society where everybody shows up in their truth, mm-hmm. and their gifts, and they share themselves. And if everybody did that, all of the tasks would be covered and everything would go so smoothly and harmoniously. Yes. And the 9 vision.
The 9 vision, yeah. And that's what I picture every day, and what I'm trying to build in our brand, The Living Luna, is this vision where everyone is in their wheelhouse of joy, and their own personal excitement, what lights them up, rather than being forced in a role that doesn't make them thrive at all. My natural number 2 partner, Justin, worked in like a call center for
Oh,
years, and they had mandatory overtime. They were not allowed, they had to, I think it was, they had to be on the phone 95% of their time there, or they would be doctor written up and such. And I mean, we're talking barely above minimum wage, and not allowed bathroom breaks when
oh,
needed. And how the hell is this considered a viable solution for humanity? Like, that is so demeaning and wrong and painful, and to
that's bad
take
for,
away people's bodily autonomy.
yeah, that's so bad for everybody. And then you add, he's a connection number. He needs to be able to connect with the people around him. He needs variety.
Yep.
Oh,
And
and
now he's,
Cheyenne doesn't have a job right now is because she's just like, it's like, it just puts her in a panic.
it's not appealing to go out and get a 9 to 5 job in this culture. It's
Yeah.
not. And that's where I'm 100% in agreement with you. If we just trusted that everyone would meet the roles that are needed, it would happen. I mean, Justin now is our home chef. Like,
Oh,
he cooks
fun.
meals for us and takes care of the house during the day. And the reward in that is that he gets to sit down consistently with his family at a mealtime and make eye contact and catch up on the day and do exactly what's his superpower as a connector.
Well, and
So
then
much
also the
healthier.
twos have such a great relationship with food and creating the relationships of the different flavors and stuff. Cheyenne was really excited to hear that that was a part of being a two.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh,
So
well,
that makes sense, and I'm gonna have to tell Justin that, because he's asked if I thought that that was a two thing, and I was like, I
oh,
don't
it's
know,
totally a
but
two thing. Susan says something to Cheyenne about it, I think, when she was identified, and asked her if she liked to play with foods and flavors. And she just knows, she like hears a flavor combination. She's like, oh, that sounds good together. She hears others and she's like, why would you do that?
I love that. Yeah, that's so exciting. But I'm gonna go right downstairs after this talk and tell Justin, who's making us beat quinoa burgers for dinner. Yeah, exciting. So, wow, this was illuminating, just in terms of continuing to understand how alike we are.
Mm-hmm.
And how this 9 energy shows up in the world. And I know, like, this was just a general conversation. We talked about a lot of things today. But I hope it brings a better understanding to others about 9. And if you have no idea what the natural numbers are, Michelle and I are both more than happy to have a conversation with you and get you
Absolutely.
started on that, because it's life changing. Even if all you do is learn your number and get a cheat sheet of the others, and you can kind of start to like get other family members identified and kind of go from there. And it's just a relational tool. Or it can literally help you deep dive into exactly what work is in alignment with you and how you can best show up in society to serve others. It's tremendously powerful. So yeah.
100%.
So thank you for joining me today, Michelle. We time flies. We are already up at like 45 minutes practically, and yeah, these normally go like 20 to 40. So we just have so much to spare. We just need to listen to our 9s a little bit more.
Yes.
We're really we are really working on taking up our space, as well as holding our space. We're doing the work, and it's important.
Yeah.
So thank you for how you show up in the world and what you do, because it's not acknowledged often enough.
Oh, and thank you so much. Knowing you has been life-changing. To have somebody to talk to one-on-one, it's like, is this a 9 thing? Is this just a me thing? To have somebody acknowledge my struggles, as I totally get it, because you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes.
It's been powerful for me.
Yeah. And I think that raises a really good point about like the body of 9 community as it's expanding, is potentially natural number dyads, like people that have maybe known their number for a little bit longer and have come into alignment with it to be able to mentor and guide other people of the same number, to say like, this is a nature, this is maybe a nurture. Let's explore that more and have these kinds of conversations. I think it's there's so much healing capacity in that.
Yes, there is.
So thank you. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to our people.
Hi, people.
Bye, Amy Brooke, if that's still you there. And whoever else commented that I couldn't see names on, let us know if you watched the replay, and reach out to either of us if there's something that you'd like to continue a conversation about.